Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our ACCA tax series. I am Natasha, and this is our second video on this series. So, today we are going to discuss a few points on Chapter 1, the UK tax system. Now, first, before we proceed, let's understand why is tax important. Tax is important because it is a source of revenue for any government in any country. The taxes that the government collects from the people is the means of their income, which is then further used for public services. Now, what is the purpose of tax in the UK? Now, it encourages saving habits. So the UK tax system is based in a way that they levy tax with a view to encourage saving habits. And how does that happen? That there are some incentives on savings, which you will see in the upcoming chapters. Then, if you have done some charitable donations, you get a relief. And if you're an entrepreneur or an investor, you have some tax relief on some specified schemes. What the UK tax discourages is motoring because it is imposing high duties on fuel. It discourages smoking and alcohol because it levies tax on alcohol and cigarette, and that's how it discourages it. And it also doesn't encourage pollution by levying taxes like landfill tax and climate change levy. Now, what are the principles of taxes? So basically, how are taxes implemented? What are the different ways in which you can implement taxes? Now, the first kind of tax is the progressive tax. Progressive tax means is when the income increases, the tax also increases. So it's like your normal income tax where we have a slab-based income tax, wherein as your income increases, the tax on your income also increases based on which slab do you fall in. The second type is regressive tax, which means that as your income increases, your tax decreases. Now, an example for this would be that Mr. A is having an income of 10,000 and Mr. B is having an income of 1 lakh. Both of them, when they take their car and go to the petrol pump, the petrol tax for both of them remains the same. They don't check the income while levying the tax on the petrol. So the tax on the petrol is the same no matter what your income is. So such kind of tax is known as regressive tax, wherein as your income increases, the tax decreases, meaning for somebody who has an income of 1 lakh, for him the tax on petrol is not going to pinch as hard as to someone whose income would be 10,000. Then you have proportion tax, where as the income increases, the tax remains the same. And then you have ad valorem principle, wherein tax is calculated on the percentage of the value of item. Now, very easy example for this would be VAT, wherein VAT is imposed as a percentage on the value of the item. So these are the different principles of tax. Moving on, what kinds of taxes do we have in the UK? We have the income tax, which is of course the famous tax on your income. Then you have NIC, which is National Insurance Contribution, which contribute to the insurance. And this can be contributed by the employees or by self-employed people or also by the employers for their employees. Now, anybody in India who is watching this is very close to Provident Fund that your employer maintains for you. Then you have capital gain tax, which is usually levied on the sale of assets. Then inheritance tax, which is levied on any items that you have inherited, any wealth that you have inherited. You have the corporation tax that is levied on companies. And you have the VAT, which is levied on the value of goods and services. Taxes in the UK are administered by Her Majesty's Revenue and Custom, which is known as HMRC. Now, what are the functions of the HMRC? It funds the UK's public services and it also helps families and individuals with financial support. Now, another topic of discussion here is the Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement. This is basically a kind of agreement that is entered between two countries in order so that tax is not levied twice. So suppose you are earning income in country A and you're a resident of country B. If tax is levied in country A, such a DTAA agreement helps you to not levy tax again in country B. So these are bilateral agreements, that is, they are between two countries and they take precedence over the UK tax law, meaning in times of dispute, if you have to follow something or if you have to rely on something, it would be the Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement, which will have more power than the UK tax law. Then what are the benefits is that either it will exempt the overseas income from the UK. So like I told you, if tax is already levied in country A, it will not again be levied in country B, which is UK, or it would provide relief if tax is suffered in both the countries. So if country B is also asking to levy tax, there will be some kind of a relief that would be given for tax that has already been deducted in country A. Now, you need to understand what is the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Now, tax evasion is where you are trying to avoid or reduce your tax liability by illegal means. Illegal means meaning that you are going out of the law to have a reduced tax liability. So that's tax evasion, and it has a risk of criminal prosecution. So that is not appreciated. Tax evasion is not appreciated. Whereas tax avoidance is when you're trying to minimize your tax liability by legal means, meaning you are within the framework of the law when you are trying to avoid tax, you're trying to minimize your tax liability. And it is a way of utilizing the loopholes in the tax system. So that is the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance, where tax evasion is illegal and tax avoidance is within the framework of the law. So that was all. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you've got a good brief on the chapter 1 of. Thank you so much for watching this video.